Witajcie ponownie. Zapraszam na wykład
Hello again.
producenta Mariusza Włodarskiego.
I would like to invite you to a lecture of Mariusz Włodarski, a producer, who's at the last leg of his race for Oscar. Marta Dalecka said that we should all keep our fingers crossed that it should work. So we keep our fingers crossed because this movie, The Girl with the Needle, had its beginnings here in Film Spring Open, because 2 years ago in Magnus von Horn and Michał Dymek's group we had camera tests, and I can confirm that it was here. I was here and it was a great adventure. Mariusz knows what a red carpet means, how many problems can hide under the carpet. He will tell us about film festivals without undue, I would say, I would like to invite you to his lecture about the ups and downs of, or the bright sides and dark sides of film festivals. I hate talking to microphone, and I feel sort of I don't like to. I like to talk around and I like to swear. I'm a person who's. I'm sorry to all of you here individually if you don't like how I speak, but this is my personality. This is how I win, how I lose. This is how I live. So once again, I would like to say sorry to the gentleman out of the technical service if I forget about the microphone and I stop talking to the microphone. I would like to thank Film Spring Open for inviting me. I'm very happy. I was thinking, because I was invited this year to take care of the production group, and now you can see from the faces here that the participants of my workshops are here with me, but I thought that I will find a topic that might be interesting for a wider audience who are gathered here during the workshop, in the workshops of Mr. Sławomir Kiciak. The first question that I would like to ask you is a question, the answer to which is, we can answer by raising hand. Did any one of you experience film presence of your works on a film festival? 5 people. Congratulations. 6. Why are you waving a head that you don't, as if you don't know? Well, regardless of the role. I do have an impression that for every role there's something different in a festival. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're from a crew, or are you an artist, or are you an actor. This festival is always for you. And I wanted to start from a rhetorical question, but maybe someone out of you has an answer to that. Why do we need a film festival? To promote the movie? Yes, to decrease the informational gap between the fact that the film was made and the audience that we would like to see that movie. What sort of film festivals are you able to tell apart? Quite a good Polish knowledge about it, because many of those Polish festivals, because the festivals that you mention here, do you know, have you heard about something like the character of a premiere? Do you know how the premieres are being differentiated?
No, domyślam się. Mam nadzieję. Może coś zapomnę. W naszym świecie definiujemy premiery na 3.
In our world, we divide premieres into 3 distinct categories. The world premiere, it's an international premiere, and it's a country premiere. Within the frames of the country premiere or national premiere, you can differentiate the regional premiere, or maybe in a different, or in an individual city, for example.
światowa, międzynarodowa.
However, basically we have the world premiere, the international premiere, and the national premiere. I would surprise you, maybe I will not, that each of those premieres you can have only once. What does that mean? You've mentioned festivals in Poland like New Horizons, Nowe Horyzonty, or Off Camera. Just imagine that you're a national production, the majority of your financial or creative participation is from Poland, and you make your first premiere. We don't put a tag to it yet, in Off Camera or in Nowe Horyzonty. Which premiere out of the three is that?
Da się. Tłumaczą to na transmisję, więc proszę.
Yeah, this is being translated to a live streaming. So if you're a Polish production, financially or artistically, we have a first screening of a movie in festivals, and we introduce it in Off Camera or New Horizons. What sort of premiere do we have? And I also have a question. Can I get such a microphone to speak to? Oh, fantastic. Thank you. I have two suggestions. I have two proposals. The first one is that this might be for this production and national production, because it's made in a country where the production was made. And the second one is the international one, because these are international festivals and there are films from different cultures. Would anybody beg to differ?
Ale działa? O,
Yeah, it works.
tak głośniej nagle się zrobiło.
Oh, suddenly it became a bit louder.
Teraz mi lepiej.
I feel much better. Thank you very much.
Mi się wydaje, że to byłaby premiera światowa.
I think it would be a world premiere.
Tak. Proszę do mnie mikrofon pierwszy. Wydaje mi się, że to jest światowa.
I believe that would be a world premiere because the film is shown for the first time, regardless of the country of production. Yes, exactly. And your point of view was? So national. And now let me repeat that, because you said something. I will be moving from here to there because the camera is catching me here. I will try to walk between those two. You're both right. It's in the country of origin. Your premiere would be a world premiere and the national premiere, and you cannot repeat that, and you cannot change it. You cannot make. What does it cause?
Jest taka słynna, bo tak się przyjęło się w ogóle w jakiejś świadomości, że istnieje coś takiego jak...
In popular mind, there is this belief that there is a A-class festival. Can you list the most prestigious A-class festival that comes to your mind? Cannes,
Wenecja,
Venice,
Berlinale,
Berlinale,
Mar del Plata,
Mar del Plata,
San Sebastian.
San Sebastian.
Wyobraźcie sobie, że regularnie
Imagine that the terms and conditions, the rules of each of those of these festivals excludes any other premiere outside from the world premiere in this festival. So if you planning your festival strategy, you would make this mistake and introduce the movie in Off Camera, for example, you will not be able to show the movie in Cannes. Why? Because it's a world premiere and it's a requirement. There are festivals which can show an international premiere. International premiere means showing the screening film for the first time outside of the borders of the country of origin. So if I show the film for the first time in Poland, then in a festival like Montreal, I can show the movie again, and that will be my international premiere, or Shanghai, or in Tokyo. Every festival has its own rules, which during applying tells you what sort of premiere applies to the country. And this is very important. Right now, all French have, like, they ignore that because they believe that the best festival in the world is Cannes. You can agree with this, or you may not agree with that. Everybody has their own opinion. I have my own opinion, which I will happily share for them. The fact that it will be both a national premiere and it doesn't mean anything, because this is, I think, is the highest honor and distinction to show the movie in Cannes, to show a French movie in Cannes. It's fantastic for them. It's something that drives people, which causes promotion, which decreases the gap between the ignorance of the existence of such a movie to the over consciousness that this film exists. So please note now that the world of film festivals has changed over the recent years. At some point, a film festival, and it still lingers with us, had in it this like art house aura around it, that the only thing we will show in a film festival is some deep art house thing, that we should all cry, we should all be traumatized and misunderstand it and be totally confused after seeing this movie. But then the film platforms like Netflix and Apple, etc., they also fight for the same festivals, and the movies that are extremely artistic also fight for the same festivals. Even the movies which are, I would say, simple mid-market movies also fight for the same festivals, because it's a sort of distinction out of a crowd. This is all what's it about, to be sort of standing out from among a crowd and make somebody to code it in their heads that this brand of this festival they like, and only because the movie was there. And especially if it got some sort of award, it's even better. This will motivate the viewer to see the movie, hopefully, on the screens, on the cinema screens. If I asked you a question, you probably all know an animated movie, Shrek. Where did this movie had its world premiere? I will surprise you. It premiered. It had a premiere in this huge art house festival in Cannes. And Top Gun Maverick, the last one, where did it premiere? Yes, in the same festival.
Celem w ogóle jakby festiwalu filmowego, poza w ogóle jakby promowaniem danego tytułu, jest
but the role of the festival is, apart from promoting the movie, is promoting the actors, directors, DOPs, producers, to the least extent, unfortunately, but we are very good at promoting ourselves, so we can't complain. But showing from the perspectives of culture, if we look at it from the perspective of cultures, the role of the festival is not to show a showcase of the best movies from Poland, because this is what national festivals are about. It's to show from geographical regions something that is most interesting and works well with the lineup of their agenda. So within, you will find like 3 movies of from Europe, 5 movies from France, because France is not Europe, of course, remember that. Asian titles, US titles, South American titles from emerging markets like Middle East, for example, or Africa, and they would like, within their selection, to bring satisfaction to the whole of the world, because they take care of the world premiere. Here, a friend of you said that we, as of camera, you also have movies which we bring to Poland, and that's why it makes them international premiere. Not really, because what we do in Poland, the new Nowe Horyzonty or off camera, do it from the perspective to show the Polish viewers, what they will never reach Poland, because many of these titles will not go to the distribution because they have very too small of a commercial potential, or they were not promoted in the right way by those festivals for somebody to buy them for the broader distribution. And it doesn't make, it's not that it's a worse or better movie. It's just, it causes that suddenly this movie can find its audience. So quite often in the space of, like in the festival space, people start to talk that festivals is a separate distribution channel. If we think about distribution channels, of course, we have TV, we have movies, cinemas, we have TiVo, we have platforms with a DVD, Blu-ray, they still exist. These are channels where you can promote or distribute your works. A distribution channel is also a festival. And there's plenty of these festivals too. I didn't connect my computer, so bear with me. I launched something that I found many years ago. It was on the page of PISF. In 2014 there was a festival map of Poland. A part of those, as many of those are still current. Just see how many film reviews, festivals, etc., all sorts of events that are there to promote the cinema, promoting the idea of watching movies and go to the movies, and quite often in many ways they program in many ways. So if I were to select for myself the premiere, world premiere and the national premiere, I do have an impression that I'm looking through the prism of a movie that I produced, a film that I made. So the strategy of this festival follows the genre. So can I go to Cannes with a Polish comedy, for example? It would be difficult. However, if Joasia Kulik was playing there, who's a person who already is well known on the Cannes circuit, that might be more, that would be easier. But if I could make a movie that would be another Paweł Pawlikowski movie, what are my chances to appear in Cannes? Better or worse than a romantic comedy? Much better, because he's an author that set his roots already in Cannes. Have you ever asked yourself why did he got how he managed to take root in Cannes? Cannes is a festival which has in it a certain formal approach to movie making. Apart from the content, it's a festival which likes, in terms of likes more formal storytelling, more demanding, more brave. The way Paweł with his crew, they're using Łukasz Żal, Ewa Puszczyńska, they're creating the movies is a requiring one. It's a bold one. It's pretty static. It's lingering for a longer time. So this is something that puts those movies apart. So if you look at this contract, if we go into Berlin changes, because I'm talking about there will be a new director in Berlin, so what I'm saying right now might be a total garbage soon. Berlin was always socially engaged. Berlin always liked movies which said something about the world from the point of view of social criticism, and such movies had it much easier to enter the competition than movies which entered Cannes, so more formally brave. Venice is like a combination of these two worlds. So on one hand you have the cinema which is brave, which is pretty formal. It's
daje nam jakiś
It
rodzaj
gives us a certain type of film experience outside of the content, but also socially important films like about talking about euthanasia or abortion, or the film Green Border by Agnieszka Holland, which also brings together a social element and formal element, because this movie is also very interestingly shot. So when we are thinking about this planning of our strategy, we are actually thinking in categories of what are we dealing with, what is sort of a movie it is. So this is the first level that exists in the perspective of a festival strategy. So this first level for us should always be the world premiere, unless we're not making a movie for an international market. So if we're thinking about the film production, which could as well be promoted only in Poland, and they do not require the international promotion, but require a world premiere, where would you plan the world premiere? Which is the most discernible Polish festival? Gdynia. Of course, the main competition of the Gdynia Festival, a festival which has the best press, it's most renowned, everybody go there, everybody talk about it, and which is focused on the Polish movie. It is a strategy which refers to film production in our country. On the list of accredited festivals, which which are more competitive, so which have some sort of a competition where you compete against other. I don't know if you can compete in art, but you can see that it's possible. So there are competitions which are also festivals where which are specialized but are competitive. But there are festivals which are much more of a showcase of different movies, and of course shorts and documents. I don't want to forget about them. This is very important for you too, in order to promote yourself in the category of building your own portfolio, your presence in the awareness of your future collaborators rather than viewers, rather than your audience. If you see that on the list of those festivals, main festivals, we have Berlin, Cairo, Cannes, Goa, Karlove Vary, Tallinn, Venice and Warsaw. Why Warsaw is not an element that came to our minds first, regardless of the fact that it's located in Poland, and evidently is a very prestigious festival. Because the strategy of Warsaw is to show films in a broader context. In order to get to this list, you have to have a certain percentage, 70-80% of movies which premiere as world premiere, and films which are premiering from the whole all geographies of the world rather than one country. So for some titles, premiere in Warsaw, which will be a world premiere, will be equally important as the premiere outside. But Gdynia, which is a month earlier, would be much more important than Warsaw. Because it is assumed that the Gdynia more is being written about Gdynia. Why can Venice and Berlin, out of this list, are most discernible in this list and is most visible for us? It is because this festival includes something that includes market. A market has the role to lead us to lead to sales of the titles that are being presented, not only in the festival, not only in individual selections,
wykupionych
but only also in special
pokazach,
screenings
dystrybutor, agent
for-
sprzedaży
for which every distributor pays to get the distributors that they want to, that would want to buy it. And this is where you do business. And this market is in Berlin, this market is in Cannes, and this market is not in Venice, but it is in Toronto.
I teraz festiwal Toronto się tutaj nie pojawił, ale
The festival didn't appear here, but if you click here, you can see the Toronto Festival here. It's one of the more important festivals that takes place just immediately after the Venice, which includes a collection of the so-called buyers, people who buy movies. These are international distributors, these are programmers of different TVs. They go there to see what they would want to show at their place and what they would like to invite to their festivals. So thinking about festival, Gdynia is a festival of Polish movies. Even if I'm showing A Girl with a Needle there, it's also a Polish movie directed by a Polish man, because Magnus von Horn is a Polish man. I don't know if it might be surprising to you. And the rules allow a movie, a movie directed by a Polish person, also Under the Volcano, which is also the Polish nominee to Oscar. We are also a nominee to Oscar, but everything is in the rules of the festival, so where we start things. But I would say Gdynia is focused on Poland only, and only on Polish directors, and whereas Warsaw is focused on showing the world in Warsaw, but as a premiere. So that's the difference. So what differs Nowe Horyzonty from Warsaw? Nowe Horyzonty, they also have a competition. They also have a showcase of many movies, but they do not chase a premiere. They quite often show movies from Berlin, from Cannes, which were shown in Warsaw. So what happens in Warsaw, what is fresh, which you don't have in Venice and in Cannes. But Warsaw is also aware that regardless of the fact that Gdynia appeared earlier on the map, it will also show. I mean, Gdynia is earlier. It will show also movies that were in Gdynia, because the Warsaw audience is also interested in movies which were awarded in Greece. In Gdynia. But these would not be highlights, but maybe the selected interesting titles. And every festival has in it a section. So if you think about Cannes or Venice, what comes to mind is like big, huge pulp. And while Cannes is like 5 different competition selections. Can you list them? The main competition is the first thing that comes to mind. 20 titles that you will find there. And then, if you have a brand which is Cannes Festival, we have of certain regard. Then the next 20 movies which will be shown there, also in the competition, but for a different price, not the Golden Palm, but the Camera d'Or, I think. Then we have shorts competition, 12 titles. We have a competition of short school works, 12 titles. Then we have a section which is Director's Fortnight, so called Kanzen, where only the bravest movies go, where only those that thanks to such platforms like Cannes Festival, which are able to take place in the world. We also have a debut. We have Semaine de la Critique, where 7 movies are shown, 7 long films are shown, feature films.
first or second time directors. Nie wiem,
By first or second time directors.
wyleciało. Debiutujących bądź reżyserów drugiego filmu. Więc wszyscy w ogóle czasami walczą w ogóle jakby o ten główny konkurs.
So people are working for the main competition. It is also reserved for a certain
Wiedzieć w ogóle jakby, że w tym filmie jest jakiś rodzaj
dimensions to the movie. So in order to see if there's something more epic in the movie, or if it's done by a well-known author, or by author who is followed by this festival. And there's one more very interesting key which can give you an entry to the red carpet. It's well cast. Because if you think about that we need festival to promote ourselves, what does festival need to be written about? The stars. Exactly. So we do have a certain reservation for interesting movies which has in it a star which will tread on this red carpet. They will write much more about this movie than Dziewczyna is Igłą, with all due respect to both those titles. So we have movies which can get there through the prism on how it will be packeted. So if we talk about this movie, I don't know if I can make that promotion here. There's a film called The Substance. It's a very well-known world-class actress, Demi Moore. You heard about it. So Demi Moore was the star. She was in a very bold, very provocative, and very difficult movie, which is The Substance, which you can accept it, you can reject it, but it's formally bold, it's socially bold, it's well cast, which makes that it's difficult to fail to notice it when you pass it, when you're a selection of one of the most important festivals in the world. This thinking is a way of thinking that I would like to implement in you, that not every movie will find its place in Cannes. So if in this space you will see that you have a movie which debuts, it's the first or the second movie of the director. So maybe it's better for you if this movie was in the Semaine de la Critique, or maybe if it was of uncertain regard, or if it's extremely formal in its director's fortnight. What does it make? It causes that suddenly this author, this artist, starts to gain attention, and selectioners of the next festivals will be following, because nobody knows what this or that person will do. So we and Magnus, we had like the Intruder was in director's fortnight. The second one is in the official, and the third one, Dziewczyna, the girl with a needle, was in the main competition. EO, which I love, for example, was shown, for example, in the main competition. Sometimes the path, the way, is as important as the goal. There's a number of great movies in the world. I mean, there's many more than 20 great movies in the world every year. Selecting the 20 is not simple. Thinking over too ambitiously might make us to give up too easily, or exclude ourselves from to turn off a certain faith within ourselves, that we will be able to make that movie, because we're not getting to the right place. So when you're building the strategy for a festival, the important thing is what we can achieve. So do I believe that my movie can work with international audience? Will this movie somehow sell? How can I answer this question? When I'm packaging the movie, did I manage to get the sales agent? Did anybody believe in that movie? Do they see international potential in it? So if that's not possible, if that didn't happen, if I failed, maybe my chances are a bit smaller, which doesn't mean that they're zero, which means that I should sort of set up a different strategy in order to be sure that I can get there. Because on the list of the festivals, there are several places to which you can easily go and show your movie there for the first time.
Natomiast jest coś takiego jak również ten competitive.
There's also a thing like the competitive list, which is much longer, where you have a specialized cinema, which shows
jako światową premierę.
which you don't need, where you don't need as an world premiere, but you can use it as a certain international premiere. You can build a certain space in Poland, so to Gdynia, Nowe Horyzonty, start here, start the distribution, even enter those distribution channels, and afterwards, get into the international circuit. So all these films, all these film festivals have some sort of a specialization. If we click Malaga, it focuses on the Spanish language movies, not only from Spain but also from Latin America. Probably. If we click at Styges, it's a festival, one of the better discernible festivals for fantasy movies. Quite possible for you, the strategy to enter this festival would not be Cannes, Venice and Berlin. It's Styges. This is a place which would be the best for you to show what you do. There's plenty of festivals on this list which specialize in this first or second movies. So if you have a debut or a second movie of like a first time or second time director, you can also apply to certain festivals, and it will also give you certain fame or PR or
do czego jest też potrzebny dla twórców?
Why is festival needed for the authors, not only for the movies? Brawo, networking.
Do czego jeszcze?
What else? Searching potential networking again, searching for potential sponsors for the next movie.
Ale uderzyło w coś bardzo ważnego, bo jest potrzebny do tego, żeby wystawać z przestrzeni wszystkich debiutujących.
It's to stand out among all the beginners to make another movie. When you think that a debut is the simplest thing to create in Poland, well, around the world, not only beyond, there's plenty of beginning filmmakers. Do you know what percentage of the debuting filmmakers go to the second time directors? It's half. So half of the people after their debut, they don't do any films anymore, because this film goes unnoticed and they have nothing to trade. When I'm talking about having something to trade, I'm coming back here to what is also the specifics of your movie. In my view, there are two basic things that give a sales value to the movie. One is money. So, if your title that you did is a box office hit, or maybe the most clickable thing in any platform, you will make another movie. If your title were seen by 300, 500, 1,000 people or nobody because it didn't enter distribution, you are getting closer to the 50% risk. The second value that you can present that gives us space to capitalize on our title is festival space, the festival presence, promotion of a given culture, seeing some title. It's also something that you can calculate how this impacts the value of your movie. It's up to you which way you want to go.
dla kogo go robicie,
You decide who you make your movie for, what's the potential of this topic, who you make it for, and how do you want to promote it. If you make it more commercial or more art house, it will impact for the future
tego danego tytułu,
this title, but also your careers.
Ja jak zacząłem,
When I started out,
otworzyłem firmę,
I opened a company in 2010,
moim celem było
and my goal was to
innych producentów.
differentiate myself from other producers in the country. There were not many producers who had a festival presence, and my goal is that we will concentrate on international co-productions oriented on premiering in the most important festivals of this world.
W większości
In majority of cases,
udało mi się.
I didn't succeed.
Jakby tylko tyle, że miałem jakieś
I did succeed most of the times, which means I had I was lucky, but this luck was supported by a strategy.
Jak myślicie sobie
So right now, if you think about
że chcielibyście się znaleźć w
that you would like to get into Cannes,
to jak myślicie w ogóle, jak
what do you think?
proces selekcyjny?
How does the selection process look like in a festival?
Do Cannes w ogóle zgłasza się około 2-3 tysięcy.
There are about 2,000-3,000 titles being submitted to Cannes.
Wyobraźcie sobie, ile zgłoszeń.
Imagine how many hours of viewing
Macie
that is.
grupę selekcyjną,
You have
która
selection
polega
group,
na jakichś
which
8-10
is based on 8
które w
to
ogóle
10
zajmują
people
się w ogóle
who
wybraniem. Chodzi
whose
o
work
to,
is to select the final movie.
sądzicie, że
Do you think that these people will see all 2,000 movies? No.
oni mają
They have a pre-selection.
gdzieś istnieją, nie? Która w ogóle jakby jest w jakiejś świadomości. Bardzo często
Quite often, some of the festivals invite students of filmmaking to see every title and to review them, and only their points makes 100% one thing out of 100 to stand out and then to be shown to the committee. So first system is like making a great movie that will be to the liking of the students of film knowledge, and the second one is to show yourself to the world. As we have a certain idea that this movie is there to stand out in a festival and people to watch it, we need to make a strategy which we call B2B. We need to show that we are making those movies to the selection guys so that they know they should watch them. This is what we call work in progress. Many festivals in their programs, apart from the programs that show these movies, have work in progress programs. Like the Nowe Horyzonty are called the Polish Days.
Pokazujemy filmy w developmencie, jak zaczynamy, i pokazujemy te filmy, które są w trakcie w ogóle jakby montażu, procesów postprodukcyjnych.
So this is where we show the post-production elements, and we invite selectioners of these festivals to these events. And if they like these 10 minutes, they will see the movie. So the key, the first success of a good selection is to make of course you need to make a good movie, because I assume we all want to make good movies, but then the important thing is to make people know about this movie. Just sending this movie to a festival through an official it's just sending it through official channels is much more risky in terms of getting yourself to the pre-selection pool, out of which you might never get out. I had a situation.
Wyjątkowo krępujące.
I must say it was very I would say embarrassing situation. I can't tell you. We were rejected by Venice. And it occurred that we were rejected by Venice in pre-selection, and the selection committee of this movie didn't see that. The pre-selection committee didn't see that. A year later, we found ourselves in the selection. Theoretically, you cannot reapply if you were rejected once, but we didn't have a choice. We believed that this movie is for Venice, and we had to get to the situation to decrease this information gap from that from the situation where this main selection group did not hear about us. So we made this whole strategy throughout the year for this movie to be noticed. This movie was the first movie selected by Venice in that year. Only because we've managed to reach people whom we knew had direct contact and direct impact on selectioners who said and told them that this film is worth viewing. In festival, when I showed this work in progress, I was approached by a selectioner from a different festival, saying that she really loved it and she would like to see that movie for selection, and a day before from the same festival I got rejected for this title. I've never seen such an embarrassing situation for myself. At the end of the day, we were also accepted in that festival. It wasn't our premiere, and we were invited the next time. There are mistakes which are irreparable if we stop fighting, because if we give up, if we think that we get a certain rejection. Remember that if you are rejected, the closer you are to the deadline of announcing the selection process, which means you were taken into account by the main selection committee. You were in a certain shortlist, and from this on a smaller shortlist, and every week they reject a number of titles until it gets reduced to like 20 something. So if you got an email or 3 weeks before the announcement, the risk of not getting through that way is much bigger. So in this case, you can still allow yourselves for a certain brazenness, which we allowed, and we fought for something that we've managed to achieve. The closer you are, less of a sense there is. These, at the end of the day, they liked, if it's closer to the announcement date, it means they liked the idea, but they didn't give them the lineup that they expected from the selection, and your chances are wearing thin. These mythical people, the heads of the festivals, of those selection groups, they have a certain plan for a given year. They want to change the world. They want to show something important, but they want, for example, for these movies to sell. They know that they live in a symbiosis. Why Shrek, for example, is shown there in order later to say that it's the most sold title in the world, which premiered in our festival. They also need that, but they also know that they invite under such a festival a ton of people so that they buy commercial movies and not the most art house ones. And they also have to somehow take care of this. So it's sort of self-feeding mechanism, but in this space you have to be aware of the things that are referred to, that are related to the planning of your projects. If I'm making a movie in January and I have it ready in June or July, do I need to wait for Cannes because that's my dream, or should I try to go to Toronto, Telluride, Venice earlier?
Można poczekać, ale no jeśli nie jesteśmy tego pewni, no to chyba warto spróbować gdzieś.
If we're not sure, it's better. Maybe we could try. Of course, you should never bet everything on one card, because even if it happens. So, but just look, starting from here to a year later, a lot of things are independent from you. So, premiering in Venice, is it worse than premiering in Cannes? I don't think so.
według mnie jest nawet momentami
I think
przyjaźniejszy,
it's even more friendly to some extent.
bardziej doceniam.
And you are more awarded, and the whole world writes about you. This film will sell in Toronto. You are present somewhere.
Zawsze w ogóle ten twój, w ogóle taka
So your pre-concept that you have should wait for the main strategy.
to jest coś, co w ogóle jakby w danym momencie jest trudno.
So at a given moment, it's something difficult to say because I do have titles which did not get
Do Wenecji,
to Venice and got into Cannes. I got films that didn't get into Berlin and got into Venice, and some that got into Cannes and didn't manage to get anywhere else, and they were rejected by other festivals. So
Wymyśliłem to pytanie,
when I
że
suspended this question whether Cannes is the best festival in the world,
to ja nie umiem na to
I can't answer it.
bo to nie jest
That
tak, że
because
w ogóle
it's not so that
wartościowa
I can
tytuł.
put value to a title.
Pasuje do tego line-upu, czasami do niego
Sometimes
nie
it works with a lineup, sometimes it doesn't.
Czekanie na to,
But just
żebyś tam
waiting
znaleźć, może nie jest
To
najlepszym
be there is
rozwiązaniem.
not the best solution. On the other hand,
Rozpoczęcie w ogóle procedury
starting the procedure where you are rejected, like 7 other festivals will reject you because you will lose momentum.
Czy mogę jakąś wodę poprosić?
Can I get some water, please?
Teraz, co mogło być przyczyną, że Top Gun czekał 2 lata?
Why did Top Gun wait for 2 years for a premiere, and why did they want to Cannes? Money.
To było, to jest bardzo
So that's more complex than only our dream of the debut of the first movie. Yes, but remember that Cannes was Cannes 2021, so it was Cannes after the pandemic. So pandemic got in the way of the promotion of Top Gun. The promotion of Top Gun is wider because the festival needs that event. The actors want to walk on the red carpet, they want to touch this world, and the director the same. However, they need the press that will start the world distribution, so PR. So now in the cinema, if there's a lull in the cinema, if you have a breakdown of the market and you put 200 million in the budget, that means that without the world distribution you will not get your money back.
Jeżeli w ogóle, jakby pomyśl sobie w ogóle, jeżeli każdy bilet kosztuje około tam 5 euro.
If every ticket is about €5, 20 zlotys, which half of which stays in the cinema and the other half of goes to you, how many people have to see that movie for it to get the return on investment? So I think the strategy here is not festival related, but business. It's a business decision. And they knew that Cannes would want to show them because they have Tom Cruise. They have a brand that is sort of discernible around the world. They could wait, of course, so they waited for the right moment that would give them a big starting kick, as a big jump. So the strategy is not only about the movie, but also entering the movie into the cinemas. So if you can imagine a title which you know that in the cinemas it could work, so it will be watched by a certain number of people. Quite possibly the distributor might be willing to introduce it in autumn, like after Gdynia. So Kulej, for example, Simona Kossak, Idź pod prąd will go to the cinema, Go Against the Current. So these are the movies which were discussed in Gdynia, and this is the best moment to have them on the market. So they're using this trail, they're using this momentum that they are given by the festival. So an interesting case is Ida by Paweł Pawlikowski, which was shown for the first time in Telluride. It entered cinema in autumn. It entered a number of festivals in Toronto. They said that Toronto is non-competitive, of course, but there is also an award, and Critics Award, and Audience Award. It got the award from the critics. It entered cinemas. It got 30 or 40,000 viewers, and then got this Polish pre-selection for Oscar, and only then, after the Oscar, it got 150 or 200,000 views. So the strategy of this movie was double-heated. Because Oscar is
wstydliwa.
I would say it's the most catchy thing.
Zapowiedziała mnie jako osobę, która w ogóle
Why was I presented as a guest who almost got an Oscar, who is pre-selected for Oscar? I got 11 awards in Gdynia, but it's not important because Oscar, in terms of PR, of course, I'm not criticizing you. Oscar is much more
rozpoznawalnym hasłem.
discernible
Gdyby dziewczyna z igłą wygrała złotą
brand.
palmę, sądzę, że to by się pojawiło w ogóle w tej
If dziewczyna z igłą won Palm d'Or, it would appear also here in the presentation, but it didn't, unfortunately. Maybe next time. But this is how the system works. We need brands. A festival is nothing but a brand. An actor is nothing but a brand. Top Gun as a title is nothing else but a brand. These brands are important for us because so that you as viewers will discern them and would put them into work, and then so that people buy the tickets and you can monetize your title financially or in a cultural sense. So coming back to the fact how I made a very, very long jump here. So if you win a number of festivals and you will see those places, you have a chance to make another movie because you're entering a space of the author who's discernible in the festival, the realm, and in this part of art. So for me, if you understand that every movie for me is a work of art, whether it's commercial or not, in order to make another movie, you have a different value standing behind that. Behind commerce, it's clickability and money. Behind art house is PR, awards. This is the space that allows us to function. So moving on, if you have this space of the second movie, well, until the third movie, it falls by 20%. So only 30% of directors after the third film function in the market, and they make their fourth, fifth, and sixth movies or a TV show. Because of course, these are the things that get interchanged. So this festival strategy is very important for us, for this title to be in existence, to sell, but also for us to be able to continue our work. So if your goal is to create art house, I hate that word, I don't like that word, then I don't like the festival cinematography. But you have to put this goal in front of you, that building a festival strategy for you is very important. If your goal if you make movies that sell and you have a certain star that sells, you don't maybe need a strategy for a festival presence. Sometimes it's enough to have a star to sell the film. It's also sometimes about ego. We as people who work, even the actors, they all have egos which would like to be fed. And the selection like really feeds your ego. You do realize this is only for a moment. You come back there and you know somebody gets sick and your flat gets flooded, so and it doesn't give you anything. So it's not a place where you look for an absolute value. I have the only thing is I wanted to give you an advice. I wanted to give you is that nothing can take away your joy of the process. If you do things that you believe are right, that you are being listened to, that you're being heard, that you express yourself and you're depending on the group, I believe you will have your award in that way. So the creation of a movie is a no mean feat. It's whether the movie will be good or bad. There's plenty of elements that have to click together for this movie to appear in the circuit. It's not always successful, but also the topic, which is hot when we start the development, and it's very interesting, in 5 years it can be totally boring. Do you know how many movies went through my desk that say a story about the climate change?
I nagle po prostu
And suddenly,
przez wszystkich
through
producentów na całym
through all
świecie
the producers' desks in the movie, in the world, it went, and this topic suddenly
dużo
became
mniej istotny w perspektywie
much less important from the point of view of a
Że
festival.
są jakby rzeczy, które wytraczają
There are
swojej momentu.
things that lose their momentum,
Czasami w ogóle jak
and
jak rozpoczynacie
the fact that how you start your film path, film road, which starts from where we create something and then it ends with a festival in 5-7 years.
Wiesz, ty nie przewidzisz pandemii.
You will not foresee a pandemic. You will not foresee the change of times. You will not foresee the change in culture that gets developed and the environment that grows with it. You will not foresee your competition.
Tego, że w ogóle
The fact that somebody might have a movie, might make a movie on the same topic. So this year we're making a movie which is called
Brzydka siostra Kopciuszka.
The Ugly Sister of the Cinderella, and we were hoping to break the scheme, and it's a body horror. Yeah, we call it also a beauty horror.
Jak ten Substance w ogóle podbił ten
And how this and Substance has conquered the market with this hit, and suddenly we are not the first one. So we got the momentum right, but we were late for half a year, and you have no influence in that. So even if the movie, when we felt that the movie is very fresh, we're not working in the void. So we all believe that we're doing something fresh and new, but this is a moment, and it's a force which is also has to be reckoned with. So believing that something is only good and bad just because there's a selection, it's not good. It's not constructive for you. It's not important for you. But this is, of course, could be a dream and a goal. And it's also something that, as I say, give you those few centimeters over the ground when you walk down the red carpet. I will not lie. But once you are there, and in here we assume that this movie will, that we got selected with our movie, I do have an impression that this celebration from that moment, even though that emotionally is one of the most important things that you have to experience, don't forget that you are there to make your next movies, and for your current movie to get the widest possible distribution all around the world, not only in the premiere place. So you need to take care of its PR. You have to employ people who will specialize
wywiady, które zaprezentują was do odpowiednich krytyków,
who will present you to the right critics, who will write the right you have to take care of the right space. You have to get your actors, because they are the most discernible element of your movie. You have to learn how to be present in other spaces, to promote this film in events, cocktails, express your gratefulness to financial institutions that made that movie, who co-produced that. It's not only celebration. It's building the networking. You can do that with a movie or without a movie. So if I have a movie or in Cannes, or I don't have a movie in Cannes, I'm in Cannes every year because there's a market there. I also set up, and I meet with special co-producers, but believe me, if you have your movie in selection selected, it's easier to meet with you have to be able to use those moments. I remember this story, that somebody got to some incredibly visible event in this world, and he was an author. He was the director, and there he met a producer who asked him, "What's next?" And the director didn't have an answer. And he came back after the year to the producer when they had the answer. And you know what was the question of the producer?
Who are you? I to jest smutne.
So this is sad.
Co roku
But every year, this festival lives. There's like hundreds or thousands of movies being made. There's somebody new coming on the block. You have only one moment.
I ten moment można
And you can use that moment in many ways.
Jeżeli w próżności,
But if out of vanity
jeżeli to będzie tylko i wyłącznie
you
wasze ego,
will think about your ego,
przegapić jakieś
you can overlook certain
skromność w tym zawodzie
things.
jest kluczem. W każdym
Humility
jest kluczem.
in every is a key in every film profession. Everybody is drawn to those humble people who are thankful, who are interested in other people's works, who watch other people's movies, who go to other movies, and they also clap there as if they were watching their own movie.
Jest to jakaś jedna wielka rodzina,
It is one big family, which it's not that big as you would imagine, and people know a lot about one another, and they gossip a lot, and many people
w tych zawodach bardzo świadomy,
are very conscious of the competition in those in these works.
Towarzyszą w tej drogi. Bardzo często też później
Quite often later within that space also of the wider festival circuit, all of the festivals that I showed you, they also the showcase of other premieres. So your tale that trails you after your premiere is pretty long. Then you collaborate with other titles on this road. You meet with those people. This is a good place to strike friendships, even business and film industry friendships. You never know who cooperated with whom, where, and whether somebody that does not have access to this one author or a star you would want to make a movie with. And it's always out of recommendation. It's much faster. You will have a much better analysis of what is there or not. Nobody wants to be in the pool of students. With all due respect to those students, if you are in the student pool, it's to get out of this as soon as possible. And if you're thinking about making another film and you want to employ Demi Moore, if we know Toma Melikowej, it would be easier for us to get to know Demi Moore than send the script to the agent and say, "Hi, I'm Mariusz from Poland. I'm making that movie, and Demi is my dream." The chance it will get to her hands falls down by a lot, 90%. But there's always a chance. So if you don't manage to set up a strategy, if you don't manage to get into work in progress, you will not be able to abate that. Just don't be harsh on yourself. Try to send applications and submit applications, because maybe the students will like your work. Remember also that you are not the only ambassadors of your works. Your co-producers, distributors, your financing institutions are the ambassadors of those films as well. It's their participation that will help you to decrease that informational gap to such an extent as yourself. So my Intruder, the first film that I produced, the first movie that I had in Cannes, in Director's Fortnight, I felt it was a great movie, of course, but only thanks to those ambassadors I managed to get there. The story is the following. My co-producer, Sophie from France, to whom I say hello, in Mar del Plata, where she went to pitch her project, she was
w tym samym hotelu.
She was living in the same hotel with the director, artistic director, and they were going down to breakfast. And she was asked, "What is there anything you have?" And she said, "Well, Intruder by Magnus von Hall. I'm co-producing that. What is it all about?" And she said, she gave him the elevator pitch. On the same evening, after one of the banquets, in the same elevator, in the same hotel, but this way going up, my distributor from Poland, Jakub Gutek. Sorry, Jakub Tuszyński from Gutek Film. And got the same question, because these questions are being asked, and suddenly the same answer. So the Intruder by Magnus von Horn. On the same evening, I got an email. It was December. I was asked for a screener, and on the same week, we got invited as the first movie to this selection, to this festival. I didn't do anything. So I'm telling you that because this is also a matter of luck. It's also a matter, of course, I did a great movie and I put a lot of effort in this, and I had my presence because we had in Nowe Horyzonty, but there was not, this selection didn't arrive there. But I had with me people who believed equally well in this, equally in this movie as myself, and who were able to promise that this is something important. This promise decreased this informational gap between myself and the festival, and the fact that I knew that if I'm sending this, it goes directly to the selection committee. So if this movie was bad, it wouldn't work for Sofia, it wouldn't work for Jakub, and it wouldn't be invited to the festival. So perforce, what you will create is of utmost importance. But remember, please remember one thing, that you have plenty of those good movies. I know that it's not, even if you don't believe that, I think that the taste is so good because it's so individual. And if I like something, it doesn't need to be likable by you, because it's not a tomato, so it doesn't have to be palatable to everyone. So but at least it's a good discussion topic, and that brings me to another topic that I would like to raise at the end, that film festivals love controversy. The more controversial the topic, the better. Why? Because the press likes controversy. So you know how when you use any sort of news platforms, that quite often you click into this juicy, interesting, hypnotic title, and then the article is a total flop. Sometimes it's just about the title, just to give this sticker, this label. The more controversial it is, the better. You have plenty of authors who went to the festival. Lars von Trier, who went down that route. Lars von Trier, very controversial, including that in Cannes he was able to say whom he liked, whom he didn't like, and he allowed himself to be a persona non grata in Cannes. But this builds his reputation. And not every author goes down that route. But if a topic is socially important, if the topic differentiates, if the topic makes people to argue, it means that this topic is alive. In Poland we say that there are certain titles which are warm. Making a warm movie is never, like a lukewarm movie is not a good. In English you say, I forgot. Maybe you remember how it works. Lukewarm. Well, it will come back to me. But do you have any questions?
Festiwale filmowe to może coś innego.
Maybe not about film festivals, about anything else?
prawda? Taki screen?
Can you say how a screener, what a screener looks like?
To jest
Screener, in my case,
był link.
it was a link to Vimeo with the password.
Ale przy okazji w ogóle tego mogę ci powiedzieć coś więcej, w ogóle, czyli jak na przykład coś, co
I can tell you a bit more,
chyba bazuje na tamtym doświadczeniu.
which is something that bases on that experience, and it stayed with me. I think it was a third or fourth edition. It was very close to the final version, final cut, but we didn't have color correction. We have, I mean, what we gave to this cut, to the screener, we had a planche which says we don't have VFX, so there's no music. This is done by this and that, and there's no sound.
Mam takie wrażenie,
And I do have an impression
że ta pewna,
that this certain illusion
że film
that a
jeszcze
movie
zyska
will
w
still
procesach, działa na przykład.
gain more in further process works to your advantage. So even if you have a completed movie or almost completed movie, don't send it in this form. Maybe send it in a form that something is still missing there, because then this empathy that functions there, oh yeah, the music will improve that. It will take that, I mean, that will improve things in this movie. This works to your advantage.
Dobre, to nie to słowo w ogóle jakby, ale szukaj dalej. Feel good to dobre, ale feel good jest takie pozytywne, ja lubię feel good movie, nie?
I do like feel-good movies, like The Devil Wears Prada.
Harry Potter jest feel
Harry Potter is a feel-good movie too,
Przepraszam, pokolenie.
closer to your generation. Maybe,
Przepraszam.
maybe not. I don't want to judge you.
To jest coś takiego jak mellow, ale to nie jest mellow słowo.
It's like mellow, but it's not mellow. I don't remember which one is that.
Chodzi w ogóle takie,
It's
takie uczucie
like this.
balansowania. Jak określacie kogoś w ogóle, kto...
This comes from dating. If you talked about somebody who's
sympatyczny
like
w Polsce by
like
było.
you can say simpa. Nobody wants their movie to be simpa
Świetna zagadka.
or nice.
Wspomnę w ogóle jakby to może was, wiesz, może nie dzisiaj, może nie.
It's a good puzzle. Maybe I will recall that later.
W środku pójdzie mail do wszystkich.
And then in the middle of the night you will get the email with that single word. Everybody will know what I'm all about.
Tak, słucham.
Może wypróbujmy nowe określenie
Let's-
Moving. Moving, a to już poruszające.
But moving movie is something that moves you. It's a positive
Na
one.
poruszające kino bym poszedł.
I would go to a moving movie.
Chodzi o coś takiego,
It is that
właśnie jak usłyszysz,
when you hear something, you do have a feeling that it's waste of time.
Nie mogę powiedzieć. To jest ust tylko.
Dziękuję.
Thank you.
Opowieść, tak zrozumiałem,
The story, if I understood well,
dotyczyła już gotowego filmu, a czy
related to a ready movie. And when you were working on the style and the premise and the vision of the movie, do you also cooperate
z operatorem i
with the cinematographer and the director? Do they consult you? Of course, yeah. This is my job.
Jestem trochę pierwszym widzem.
I'm the first viewer of this new movie
Pod każdym względem.
from every perspective.
Nie chcę tutaj obrażać operatorów.
I don't want to offend cinematographers. I hear about that movie much earlier than cinematographers because starting from the idea, it's usually the director and producer take part and a scriptwriter. But maybe it's just a producer and scriptwriter who find the rest of the crew.
Ale też na tym myśleniem w ogóle.
Following
pytanie,
this line of thought
wykładu.
in the character of this lecture, I do have a certain warning I can share with you. You should not, during the development of the film, think about the festival.
Jeżeli w ogóle postawicie
If
sobie
you
ciężar na
Put a certain
ramionach, że
load on your shoulders that it's a movie that will have to make it to Cannes or make it to Gdynia.
wrażenie, że
I
niepotrzebnie
do feel that unnecessarily
jest jakąś kłodę.
you put a hurdle in front of you, because your every decision will function through the weight of this prism, through this filter. It's not healthy.
Jak sobie myślicie w ogóle o
When
tym,
you think
jak robicie
how you make a
to mam
movie,
nadzieję, że
I hope
słyszycie
that
sami,
you
że to ma być ważne dla was.
you
Ma być
repeat to yourself that it
was
is supposed to be
rozwinąć.
important for you.
A
It is
drugą
to
rzeczą,
develop
która
you.
powinna być
And another
nam
thing that
spójne.
it should be
Najlepsze filmy,
cohesive.
jakie widziałem w swoim życiu, są spójne.
the best movies that I've seen are the ones which are cohesive. If I explain how they were made.
I ta spójność w ogóle
This cohesiveness stems from every element of the movie. The script, which got translated into the set design, translated into the image, which translated into the sound, the costume design, the music, etc. That you're not looking at individual stuff, but I know it's also the thing that there's plenty of I know Ijak is a world-renowned ingenious cinematographer, but one of the worst. One of the worst things that you can hear is, wow, the filming was so good. I'm so happy that the filming was so good, but I'm not making a movie for good filming or for good set design or for good music. I want to have a great movie. And this cohesiveness. Well, I mean, if you have cohesiveness and great pictures, that's fantastic. If on the side you have a great acting, also let's be happy. But the important thing is that the cohesiveness is there and that it dominates. And this is something that should lead you in your decisions when you're making a movie. And this is important. This is if you have a film that is too formal, it will also not find its way to the festival. If it's much more formal than content oriented, it has to work together. It has to be in an interesting way. It clicks together. You need to find your unique selling point. And the unique selling point is not I want to be in Cannes. It is not. It should not be. And unnecessarily. Don't do that to yourself. And don't get me wrong, I really get proposals from a person who doesn't want to work with me, with all my vices, with my criticism, etc., etc. But somebody wants to work with Mariusz, who was in Cannes, and I don't have an answer. I don't have a magical wand that would lead me to Cannes. I don't have something that, by definition, will get me there. But I do believe that film festivals are important. I do believe that they give me power for further cooperation. They are a platform that gives me discernment on the arena I operate on, and whether it's this festival or another, I believe I do have a certain level of awareness that leads me in this way. But where do I get this awareness? From watching those movies. So when I had a child crisis, when I was a teenager crisis, I don't know what's the name of it, I watched all the VHS renting place in Starachowice, and when I watched all the Die Hards and whatever else, and there was nothing to watch, there was a shelf which was called Gutek Film, and this led me to Almodovar, von Trier, Jarmusch, Cronenberg, and there I started to differentiate myself. Then there I started to think whether I like it, I don't, how do I feel with that, but I could talk about it for hours on end. And when I was inviting my friends from high school, they said, Mariusz, just don't take this movie from Gutek Film. Hey, that was interesting. Suddenly I was sort of as somebody different, but it also shaped my film tastes, what I know about movies, what sort of movies I like, and maybe that's why certain topics or certain ways of solving problems are closer to me, and maybe that's why I will understand certain things better. But that doesn't change the fact that every half a year I will watch Devil Wears Prada, and when there's Harry Potter on TV, I pretend I've never seen that before, and I really get into it. I don't know which part of this. I don't mind. I just watch there and I just eat this. I gobble on this
Bo kino ma coś takiego.
spoonfuls because that's what the cinema has in it. If it's good,
To nie znosi łatek.
it hates.
Potrzebuje
If it's good, it hates labels. But if it's controversial,
to, żeby być zauważony,
in order to be noticed and to
do tego odbiorcy,
get
do
to
tego
this
chłopaka ze Starków,
off-take to the guy from Strachowice, it has to discern itself. And film festival is exactly what it is.
Także życzę
So I wish to you,
wam takie filmy
if you want to make such movies,
to żeby one takie platformy wyróżniające się dostały.
so that your movies are noticed in those discerning platforms,
żebyście mieli
and that you have chance to share
siedzi
what's inside of you
tymi ludźmi, dla
with those
których
people
będzie.
for whom it will be important.
Dziękuję.
Thank you.